That boy ain't right. You're listening to America's truest podcast, The Pod People. I'm the Desert Island man, Matisse Van Rossum.
I'm Ben Sheets, and I gotta be honest, my Desert Island band would probably be Death Grips.
We'll come back to that. I was going to do a whole thing about that later.
Well, spoiler.
Yeah.
Computer. Earl Grey tea. Nazi tea. Hot.
Well, we're back for another exciting episode of the podcast.
Oh, I should probably mention my name's Cleveland Mosh.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
I did my nickname. I didn't do my name. There we go.
Yeah, Nazi tea. Nazi tea, Cleveland Mosher.
Nazi tea, fuck off.
Nazi tea.
That's what I say.
Well, we're back for another exciting episode of the podcast. This week was my pick, and I chose a movie that I've been wanting to talk about for a long time, dipping back into the realm of action horror.
It shows well.
We're talking about Jeremy Saulnier's Green Room from 2016, his third feature film. Very long-time listeners of the podcast might remember that years and years and years and years ago, we talked about Saulnier's debut film, Murder Party, on the show. Great movie, very different.
Yes.
That was sort of a dark horror comedy about some NYU film students who decide to do murder for art as an art gimmick, kind of a satire on artsy-fartsy types and what makes art. But after that, he did Blue Ruin, which is another fantastic film that I feel like I think that really sort of what put him into more into the mainstream.
Yeah, definitely. It got a lot of festival buzz when it came out, and I think it kind of did decently for the limited theatrical.
Yeah, it didn't I know it didn't get a super wide theatrical release, but I do think it was relatively successful on the indie circuit and the festival circuit.
I mean, enough so that this movie was picked up by A24.
Yes.
Right?
Yes, indeed. He followed up with what I personally believe is his magnum opus.
Yeah.
Green Room,
Yeah, definitely.
Which is a film that is very near and dear to my heart, and I don't think this was a first time viewing for any of us. We've all seen this. You had seen this before, right, Clive?
Twice before.
Okay, that's right. Yeah, I think we watched it.
You guys
together
showed it to me the first time,
ago.
and I watched it again with different friends, and it's so fucking good, man.
Yeah, it's
I'm really excited to talk about it.
It's always nice to revisit. Yeah, this is not your conventional horror film, but certainly a horrifying film, very graphic and very gruesome, about a punk band who gets trapped in a Nazi skinhead club where they're playing a show and witness a murder, and they have to try to survive and escape the Green Room.
Yeah, and it plays off like the classic, stuck in a limited, setting and trying to escape.
A siege film.
Yeah, a la Assault on Precinct 13.
Yep.
Or even other limited location movies. Phone Booth is somewhat
Dog Day
similar in a way.
Afternoon. Yeah.
It didn't click for me until this third viewing. But there's something about this film that it was just on the tip of my tongue, and I finally put it together. And you guys might disagree with this, which is fine. But I in equal parts see this film as a Western. In particular, it speaks to the language of Fistful of
Pacific
Dollars.
Northwestern.
Pacific Northwestern, very good. It speaks to the language of Fistful of Dollars, or I think it's El Dorado. I get those that run into John Wayne movies mixed up as well. El Dorado, they're all Red River, they all run together. But
they're all kind of the same.
Yeah,
good movies though.
The heroes are held up in the jail. They've got a guy in there with it, and the evil cowboys want to get their
to break their buddy out.
Their buddy, yeah. They want to get their buddy out, and they lay siege on the town.
3:10 to Yuma.
Right. Oh, great example.
El Dorado is one of those. Yeah.
And it really reminds me of that as well. And
yeah, well, I mean, I think that's the Western genre did that a lot, but it is at its core a siege film.
Yeah.
The same kind of thing that Ben was talking
it's
about.
It's a pulpy
with, like,
narrative structure, right? Like, you see it in old crime books a lot, as well as Westerns, and, like, it's an underutilized subgenre nowadays, I feel like. I think this movie
in modern
does it.
films,
Yeah, exactly. Nowadays, this movie is probably the shining example of it. In the past 10 years.
Yeah, I think this is just one of the best movies of the last 10 years.
Yeah.
One of my favorites for sure. And a movie that I love more on every single rewatch.
Yeah, easily agree.
This was a like you mentioned, this got picked up by A24, and this was put out in sort of I guess you consider the beginning of their golden era. The Witch came out the year before this.
Yeah, it's funny. We watched it on Blu-ray, and they had the trailers beforehand, and it was kind of hit after hit after hit.
Yeah, just all A24 stuff. The Witch,
The Lobster,
Room,
which won a lot of Oscars that year.
And I think this movie is much too violent to be in any sort of like award season contention.
More of a genre film.
Yeah, exactly, more of a genre film. But I do think that this is amongst all of those other A24 films that kind of like elevated the company around that time as it was like really taking off, you know, because only a couple years after this we start getting like Hereditary and shit like that.
Yeah.
You know?
It's funny, you know, I wouldn't consider this elevated horror though. I think it's very no nonsense and unpretentious and almost minimalistic in some senses.
Yeah.
I love how confidently this movie's directed, man. I think it's just incredible.
Me too, and I think that it is in a lot of ways, it is a genre film, but I think it's also sort of an anti-genre film.
Yeah. And
kind of, in an interesting way, like an anti-siege film. Like, structurally, it's very much like a siege film, but unlike your 3:10 to Yumas, your El Dorados, your Assault on Precinct 13, it's like you don't have like a cool and collected like badass gunslinger hero, you know, who's up against impossible odds.
They tease one. And I like that.
Yeah, sort of. But rather, this is a movie where everybody on both sides feels like they're out of their depth.
Yes.
Like, you know, Patrick Stewart, we'll talk about him. It's like he's the cold, the collected, the calm one. But like even his like flunkies, like Macon Blair, it's like Macon Blair always looks like he's on the verge of tears in this movie.
Yeah, well,
you know,
I think the
and I love
distinction
that.
there is, you know, there's like a throwaway line where Patrick Stewart is referencing like a crime that happened last year on Easter.
Right.
And he implies that Macon Blair wasn't even around in the gang.
Yeah,
at the
he was still I think he says he was still handing out leaflets
and
at that time.
I think that's critical because like Patrick Stewart is threatening in this movie because he has all of these years on the operation,
right?
And like
it's
what
his
he's
operation,
doing, and
yeah.
that's why he's so clinical about everything.
He's
Where
the
the
elder.
flunkies, they're mostly just jumping in.
Yeah, and mostly like a lot of Nazi movements, like mostly very like young, like disaffected men, you know, who can easily be brainwashed into those types of ideologies. But we're getting ahead of ourselves a little bit. Last thing I want to mention is that this is notably the last theatrically released film starring Anton Yelchin before his death. A couple more movies that he was in came out after that, but this was the last one that was in theaters before he died. So in some ways it kind of feels like his last film. It always does to me, you know, which is a shame because I think he's very, very good in this, and he's an actor who is taken far before his time.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, so the film starts with our touring punk band, the Ain't Rights. They are sort of like very classic, pull yourself up by your bootstraps, like punk band, touring in a van, sleeping on the side of the road.
Kind of crust punk adjacent.
Siphoning gas from other cars, to get across the country. And playing these dinky little college shows, basically.
Yeah. Well, I love how the film opens, where it's like an aerial shot of their van, and they had like crashed into a cornfield.
Yeah, because the dude who was driving fell asleep behind the wheel while all the rest of them were asleep.
Yeah.
So they just passed out in the cornfield with the engine running, so they wake up and they're all out of gas. So they have to take the bike down off the roof of the van and, find the nearest, like, place with a big parking lot, like a skating rink a few miles away, to go siphon some gas. It'll get them out of there.
Yeah, having it in a field is really great, too, because it sets up the green visual motif of the film. It's called Green Room, but quite literally most shots have, like, a green...
The color palette is
palette.
By and large, very green-based.
And a lot of nice orange by contrast. But yeah, when they siphon the gas, there's something small I noticed is... and to me, it's just like a small editing sort of pacing thing. But so often we see like the siphoning gas trope in movies where they suck the hose and, to get like suction going, and then they spit out the gas. And there's always like a bit of a reaction, and it can be like a good character moment. And they kind of sidestep that, like he's still like pulling the gas when the scene cuts to the it cuts to the next sequence.
I think they have something clever, and they have like a siphon pump on the because it's got
that what it is.
Yeah, because it's got like
that's right. They talk about that later. I'm so
because he's got
right.
He's got like it's got like the pipe that they siphon the gas off of, and then it's got like another black tube that comes off of
because they've been doing this a lot, and they don't want to. Yeah.
Right, so they're obviously tired of getting gas in their mouths.
Their experience,
right? Exactly.
Yeah, it shows that
they're experienced punks, which is
and
great.
that's something that a viewer more observant than I would catch.
Well, and one thing that I think is really great about this movie is how authentic, sort of like its depictions of the scene, quote unquote, feels. From what I was reading, I think Jeremy Saulnier used to play in some punk bands, and had a bunch of friends who did. So yeah, I mean it exactly, like he wrote this as well, and like it feels like it's written by somebody who understands the scene, and as somebody who is also heavily into like extreme music, it's like I appreciate that. That's one of the reasons why I like this film so much, because I feel like it's like a nice little... you don't see a lot of movies that are, like, sort of exploring this kind of scene, even the darker sides of it.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like a tourist, writing out of their depths.
No, it doesn't. In contrast to, I think, a lot of stuff you see, there's that Netflix movie that came out a year or two ago, like Metal Lords or whatever, that was trying to play off the popularity of the kid in Stranger Things who everybody likes, like the heavy metal guy. So, like, Netflix made, like, a movie, like, about those kinds of people. And, yeah, it feels very touristy, and, like, this doesn't feel... And I mean, to people who aren't into this shit, it's like, who fucking cares, right? Like, it doesn't...
I think that even if, like, you're not as deep into it, you can feel the authenticity of it. It's projected in a way that is so earnest and true to this scene, right? Like, for instance, I think, like, just in general, you guys... I have some other peers who, like, are in punk and the rest, and they all swear by this movie. And... I'm, like, less so, but I still, like, on my first viewing, like, buy it. Like, it, because it's so earnest.
I think...
And frankly, confident,
A lot of it is in the way that the characters talk to each other and the way that they talk about the scene and what they're doing. And, like, it feels very natural. It doesn't feel like it's trying to explain to the audience.
No, it doesn't care about accessibility.
And it has that kind of, and I say this with full self-awareness, it has, like, just the right level of that kind of, like, pretentious, like insular kind of thing that you get in these kinds of like scenes where it's like it like you say, it's not trying to be accessible to outsiders, and that if you're not like in the scene listening to these people talk, it's like these people are fucking dweebs.
I love I think the journalist like interviewing
college
them.
radio.
Like,
Yes,
college radio.
I love this is the next scene is after they get out of the cornfield and they get to where they're going. Like, yeah, they're crashing with this guy, this like college radio journalist who has set up a show for them like on the college campus, and you know, as part of the payment for setting up the show, like he gets to interview them and play it on the radio. And like I like it when they show up and he's like, I gotta, you know, he gives them his keys, like, I work nights, so I'll catch y'all in the morning, but like crash whatever. And so they're just like in his apartment looking through all of his shit. They're like drinking beer out of his fridge, and one of them is like going through his record collection, you know, and they're talking about like, oh, so what do you make of this guy? And there's like, oh yeah, no, I think he's good. He's true. You know, like as he's like flipping through his vinyls, and it's like that's a very like underground like heavy music thing. Is like you can't be false, you have to be true. Like that means
you don't want to be a poser. You're
not a poser, right? You've got the right taste, you've got the right aesthetic, you know, you're not laying it on too heavy, you know, you've got the underground demos and shit, you know.
Yeah. One of my favorite parts of that scene is right after they're putting on a record, and we hear like the first second of the record, and then it smash cuts to the morning with the record kind
just
of looping.
Still spinning. Yeah, they're
and
all
it's
asleep.
so utilitarian because it gives you just what you need to understand the scene, and then it goes on to the next, because we really don't need the whole scene, right?
Well, it's a lovely subversion too, and it because it's sequenced to lead you into a party scene, right? Again, all the characters are just grabbing beer out of the fridge, all these things that you've just described. They're getting ready to fucking party and have a good night. Like, one of the characters is about to go to bed, but the rest say, hey, we're all going to stay up and drink. So you expect that we're going to stay with these characters for a little bit, and then they go to put a track on. And this is the scene, you know, this is the moment in any other movie where it's like the music would play out.
It's literally the needle drop, and they abort it immediately.
Yeah, just they cut away from it. It's great. And we're on to the next morning.
Again, which doesn't add anything to the movie, so like
why would we
skip the scene?
And also, it's very punk to not give the people what they want, you know? Yeah. And like that is something that I appreciate about this movie too, to a certain degree, is that like it's not like overly soundtracked. Like there aren't many, if any, like real needle drops. There's lots of like diegetic music happening in the background, and like we see the band performing a couple of times, but we never get, it's like never in the movie is there like an action scene where the sound drops out and they start playing like Raining Blood or something while the Nazi skinheads run in with their machetes or whatever.
Well,
you know,
they almost opt for the complete opposite of punk, where like especially before shit goes down, they have multiple sequences, like slow-mo sequences that are a soundtrack to like ambient. It almost feels like Terrence Malick at a certain point, where we get these slow-mos of the environment or people's faces expressing,
people moshing and like throwing beer botters and shit, but you don't hear the actual music that they're listening to.
Well, what I like about that, we are cutting pretty far ahead, but like what I really like about that moment where the band starts like playing and it cuts to slow motion with like ambient industrial, is I think it delivers the feeling of moshing, of just like fucking headbanging and being in like a heavy crowd for people who don't experience that. And like to me, like there is like that kind of like really nice serenity of just getting a sound bath.
Yeah, no, I mean it does.
Like, you see like these people with like these euphoric expressions on their faces, like, yeah, that's how I feel when like I don't know, we went to that Earth concert, you know, or like fucking or even like Frozen Soul and shit, you know, like when we're like listening like the heavier stuff. Like, that's how it feels. And, like, in that moment, and it's sort of just a look inside of all these, like, people's heads,
Yeah.
For someone who, and I just, it's cool. Like, I think it's both an insider and outsider.
It's about the feeling.
Yeah. And yeah, it literally, I think it works for everybody. And I think that's really cool. I know we were just talking about how this movie isn't accessible, but I do think that there is something about that. The way that shot kind of works for all parties.
Well, I mean, it's the film itself, I think, is very accessible. I mean, if you can, if you can,
it's accessible to punk.
If you can stomach violence, but like, it's not interested in making like its world accessible. Like, the story is perfectly accessible. You can follow that no matter what, and that's ultimately what it's interested in. It's not a movie about punk and metal music. It's just a backdrop,
which is extremely
but the
cool.
the details are good. The details are there.
There's specificity.
Yeah.
Anton Yelchin's character essentially says that during the interview with the reporter, and that's what's so fucking cool. Is the reporter asks them like, "Hey, you guys don't have much of a social media presence. Why is that?" And Yelchin says, "Well, for us," and it's kind of that pretentious teen kind of answer, but it's so true. And it's like, for us, like, there's no texture in that. Like, the texture is being at the scene.
Yeah, when you go digital, you lose the texture.
You lose the texture, yeah, and like, it's pretentious, but it's true. Like nothing beats a fucking live show.
Sure.
And
nothing beats a live show,
movie,
but I'm thankful for having all my favorite albums on streaming, though.
Of course. But what I like about that is that the movie is also sort of telling us there that it's not trying to be a live show.
Right.
And it isn't. And again, like we said, because it cuts away from the music so often. And I think that's, again, it speaks more to like the spirit around the music than the music itself. That's fucking cool.
Well, yeah, because it knows that it's as it is a film, that like there's that distance that you're not going to experience it like you would like a live show. And I think that like the couple of times in the movie where we do get any sort of like prolonged like live music scenes, like it's almost they're treated almost as like kind of pathetic, especially that first one where like at the end of the interview like the journalist admits to them that's like, "Hey, so I know I promised you this venue, but I kind of got in trouble for the last show I threw there, like
I booked Gigi Allen and
yeah, he's like there's vomit and some fecal matter or whatever, but it's like, don't worry, I got a backup." And we just like smash cut to them doing their hardcore punk set in like a Mexican restaurant with like 5 people in there, and it very much has the "what the fuck is up, Denny's" vibe. Like it is.
What's up? What's up? What the fuck's up, Denny's?
But and then it's like, yeah, they get their payout, and it's like, yeah, for each of us we get $6. And that's also sort of like the inciting incident. It's like they're like, "What the fuck, we came all this way, like we have to cancel the rest of the tour because we didn't make any money off of this show." And so the guy who interviewed him was like, "Okay, don't worry, I got it. Like, let me call my cousin, I can book you guys a gig like downstate, but like here's the deal, like it is sort of like a skinhead bar." And they're like, oh, well, what kind of skinheads? He's like, mostly far right. And it's like, just don't play your, he even says, he's like, you should probably play your older stuff. And he's like, my cousin's cool, just don't talk politics, So they drive down there to, it's like this dive bar out in like the middle of the woods in Oregon. Like it's very, very isolated. Very rural, and they get there and see pretty much immediately that the dude has like pretty heavily undersold like just how much of like a Nazi venue this is. So what do they decide to do is like be as punk as possible, and they decide to open their set with a cover of the Dead Kennedys' Nazi Punks Fuck Off, which is really the only other scene where we see like prolonged like live music playing.
I will say they do put on a good performance.
They do. It's a good cover, and it is like it is kind of like this sort of like facile display of rebellion, in this venue where they're still getting paid to play. It's like all the people are flipping them off and like throwing beer bottles at them. It's a fun prank, though. I did see too that like it was like all of the actors did like play and perform their own music in the movie, which is cool.
It shows in like the vocalist, I think, in particular, like his exhaustion feels so real and genuine because he's really belting. I love too, like he's because they're kind of kids, they're still like getting used to all this themselves. I think the vocalist, after playing the song like really raggedly into the mic, just says, "That was a cover."
It's like, that was a cover.
That was a cover. He's like, it's
very funny. Incidentally, that it is a great track, but I think I do overall prefer Napalm Death's cover of Nazi Punk's "Fuck Off," but that's just a personal taste thing. You can't go wrong with the Dead Kennedys. No. Circling back a little bit, one of the things we've sort of hinted at but didn't talk about is like one of the things that the college kid asks them in the interview is like, what is your desert island band? Like, you're stranded on a desert island, you can only have the entire discography of one band, who do you take?
It's the most college radio question you can ask.
It is, but also, like, they give the most, like, crusty touring punk band like possible answers, like Misfits. I think one of them says Cro-Mags. I do like the one dude's question is like, if you say Black Sabbath, do you get Ozzy and Dio? And it's like, you know what, like that is a good consideration.
That's a good pick if you're getting their entire discography.
Yeah.
Misfits, on the other hand, more misses than hits.
Yeah.
So
more misses than fits, if you will. Well, I think that brings us to a fun segue. What's y'all's desert island band? You said it at the beginning, Death Grips.
Yeah, probably Death Grips
or
Cocteau Twins.
Both good picks. I was gonna say Death Grips is good, but they don't have a very long discography. I feel like if you're stuck, but it is pretty much all hits.
Yeah.
You got something, Cleve?
God.
You can throw a couple out there.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, see, that's the thing, right? Like, I'd probably pick something that, like, I love a couple albums of, but maybe I haven't explored the rest of their discography as fully.
Ooh, that's risky, though. Material. That's risky, though. But what if it sucks?
But hey, at least I've got like 2 or 3 albums I know I love, right?
You don't want to go with a band that you know all their stuff really well and like that it's good.
I mean, I don't know. I've listened to Hounds of Love like so many times. Like, I love Kate Bush, man, and like Wuthering Heights is good too. Like,
Kate Bush is
she's got a good like 5.
Yeah, I think
albums.
Kate Bush is a solid pick. Actually,
I think it might be Kate Bush. Like, actually, it's either Kate Bush or
Lil B.
Maybe
Lil B.
Shut the fuck up.
Hey, he has a billion albums.
I wouldn't know.
I was gonna say that like Gucci Mane. You'll never run out. You'll never run out. There's a lot of bad shit, but
man, if I could get like all of Karen Dreyer Anderson stuff, that would be pretty cool.
No, it's got to be just band.
Maybe just Fever Ray.
Band specific.
Like 2 albums.
That's not very many albums.
I love those albums though. So it's like it's a little tricky.
But don't you think you'd get tired of them after spending the rest of your life on a desert island?
I mean, I've listened to them over and over again so much of my life. I don't know, maybe that or Low or just, I don't know, something really like rich that's got a lot, you know?
Oh, yeah.
Whatever.
Then you'll have 30 albums that all sound basically the same. That are all pretty good. I think my pick is a little basic bitch, but I think I would go Dark Throne because they have a lot of albums and it's all pretty quality, but they've all got like different styles. Like, you get the classic like second wave black metal stuff, and then you get like 2000s, you get like Crust Throne, which is also very good. And then, like, you get the later era stuff, you get, like, the Doom Throne stuff, which is less to some people's taste, but I still really like. So you've got, like, different flavors, and they've got, like, 20 albums, and they're all good, so...
Maybe Sleep.
Yeah, Sleep is good, but they've also... It's like you've got, like...
Yeah, not a ton.
Yeah, you've got, like, 3 or 4 albums. Yeah, you've got, like, Holy Mountain... Dope Smoker,
Sciences.
The Sciences, and I think they have like a couple of EPs. I think those are their only albums. So, you have Sleep Volume 1. Anyway, back to the movie. Where were we?
I liked that tangent. Nazi punks, fuck off.
Yeah, Nazi punks, fuck off. So,
You can leave that in.
yeah, you know what? I might. That'd be punk of me.
It would be quite punk.
Very punk of
This
me.
is the punk episode.
We were talking about the slow-mo in that sequence.
Yeah.
And I think...
That's after they play Nazi punk.
Yes,
We do get that.
yes.
We get them playing that full song, which, in fairness, is like 2 minutes long. You know,
But during their set,
Yeah.
we get that slow-mo. And
when they start playing their original.
I think it's a great example of, like, why this movie works so well for me is, like, the serenity almost of it, punctuated with extreme bursts of violence, and because it has these moments of bathing in it a little bit, it makes those hits so much harder. When it does happen.
Yeah, I think the violence in this movie is very much in the camp of like the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre, where like it's sudden, it comes out of nowhere, it's brutal, and then it's over. And like the movie doesn't like necessarily revel in it, it just kind of is. And I think that approach to violence is always kind of the most horrifying because it's the most true to real life, you know, where it's like horrible things can just happen all of a sudden and then it's just fucking over and then you're just left in the aftermath of it.
Yeah,
know?
It doesn't revel in it, but it's fucking gnarly in the movie.
Incredibly so. Yeah, so we should start getting into some of that. So after their set, they head back to the green room and all of their like gear is already outside and they're like, oh yeah, we had to fucking, you know, we had to move the stuff out here because the next band needed the green room, so you know we'll get you loaded out. And it's like, oh shit, we left our the band has one cell phone between them. Like, oh shit, we left our phone in the green room. So Anton Yelchin goes in to grab it, and he walks into the green room and walks in on a murder. The next band, one of the dudes has driven a knife into this girl's skull. We see that band it like out in the crowd like during the Ain't Right set. I also love that on the marquee outside the venue when they pull up, they see that they've been billed as the Aren't Rights. Which I wonder if that's because the Nazis think ain't rights is too much like African American vernacular, so they have to white bread it up to the aren't rights. Like that's like when they come out on stage, it's like, oh yeah, we're the ain't rights or the aren't rights, whichever. And then they, you know, hop into Nazi punks, fuck off. But yeah, that band, the headlining band, Cowcatcher, great name, is like when they start playing Nazi punks, fuck off, like they get really pissed off and they're flipping them off, and you know we see them leave, and we see a couple of girls go with them. One of them is Imogen Poots, one of the other big actresses in this, most hilarious name in the industry. Miss
She's
Poots.
great. She carries it.
No, she's very good in this. Not the first time we've talked about her on the podcast either. I think the last time was 28 Weeks Later.
Yep. And we talked about her name on that one too.
Yeah. She's very good in this. She's got the fucking craziest haircut.
I buy it. I buy it though. Yeah.
Just awful. But we see them sort of going back to the green room too. So when Anton Yelchin walks in, the band is back there with the two girls, and one of the girls is dead with a knife in her skull, and Anton Yelchin tries to call the police, but Macon Blair is able to get the phone away from him, and they shove them all in the green room, and one of the big Nazi is sort of
You assume he's
guarding,
like a bouncer or something. As
yeah,
well.
guarding the door. Yeah. I mean, he's somebody who works at the place, but he's one of the Nazi punks.
And unfortunately, he doesn't fuck off.
He gets fucked off pretty bad though.
Later, yes, he does.
This is great. Man, that's a character actor I really like. I always forget his name. Like Eric Edelstein, I want to say.
Right, he kind of looks like David Harbour, to be honest.
He does look a little bit like David Harbour. I could see that. Yeah, Eric Edelstein. Yeah, I feel like I've seen him in all kinds of stuff. You probably recognize him if you saw him, but yeah, he plays Big Justin.
Big Justin. He looks like a Big Justin.
Yeah, he does look like a Big Justin, and I like that he. I like the little interaction that he has when he's like holding them at gunpoint. They're like, "Oh, we could rush him. He's only got 6 bullets." He's like, "They're cartridges, actually. The bullet is the part that goes into your brain." And there's actually only 5 in this gun because they're really fucking big.
Yeah, it's one of those things where it's like it's so matter of fact that it sort of comes back around to being badass again. I love his character and those
that's
interactions.
another example of utilitarian writing, right? Like,
Yes.
It gives flavor and texture, but it also lets us know how many bullets are in the gun.
Right, exactly. Yeah, how many cartridges are in the gun?
So from here, things get real messy.
Yes.
And I want to talk about just the mechanics of the mess in this film before we...
Sure.
And it may be as a means to avoid digging into all the tiny details, see the movie. But this film it's all about a plan going wrong. In this case, it's the villain's plan. They have their whole setup. Someone's been murdered. They're trying to take care of it as quietly as they can because their operation is already, tentative. They're already fucking terrorists, basically. So, they want to just handle the situation as well as they can. But this band is a fly in the ointment. They're all witnesses, and it's very clear. As soon as he can, Yelchin tries to call the police. So they know, oh yeah, we're going to have to deal with these outsiders too in whatever way we can. And so much of the tension from there is shown from both sides of the aisle. We see our heroes in the green room struggling to maintain any amount of agency that they can and to just get out and try and survive this utterly fucked scenario. And on the outside, they're trying to cover up this just horrendous mess. And so they're all planning and strategizing, and we're constantly bouncing back between cat and mouse. It shows that, even though it's just a couple of teenagers in a room, they know what they're doing pretty much as well as the evil Nazi force does. And they're pretty regularly made to make stupid mistakes as well, and I like that. It kind of shows the youth as being resourceful.
I think it's mostly pretty one-sided, actually.
Oh no, absolutely.
I mean, obviously, stuff goes wrong for both sides, undountably, but
when the Nazis have all of the power, right?
Yes, they have all of the power.
Their ability to maintain that power falls apart. Essentially time and time again.
Their ability to keep the situation tightly controlled, but I don't think it's necessarily for lack of planning on their part, but more just how fallible humans are, and the fact that a lot of the people that Patrick Stewart is relying on, his flunkies, his henchmen, again, very young, hot-headed, stupid guys.
Well, I feel like at its core, it's truly a punk story, right? You have these forces that outnumber you and outmaneuver you, outarm you, versus a literal DIY or die sort of punk creative spirit that has a reckless abandon of sort. I think the paintball metaphor is so perfect that they use as an anecdote in this film. We can talk about that further. It might be early now, but
there's still some stuff that's worth talking about before they get to that. But yeah, when this whole thing starts falling apart, Macon Blair goes off and calls Patrick Stewart, calls in Darcy, the owner of the bar and the leader of this neo-Nazi gang.
Yeah. He's our black hat. He's very clearly our villain.
Yeah, that's what it is. Because this is this bar, like, it is a bar, but it's also a front for, drug manufacturing and distributing, and also, like, a legitimate, like, white nationalist, like, movement. Not just some guys like LARPing, So like he comes in and I like how the introduction to him is that like we see the car coming in and like on the door of the car it says like 24-hour security. So he owns like a security company or whatever. So he's obvious, like, I feel like that's a lovely little bit of ambient world building that like perfectly introduces you to the kind of character that he is, that he's like very cold and calculating. He's like very detail oriented because he's a security guy.
And so much of his power is carried through the way he's treated by those around him.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily through the way he's shot. And I love that. It makes him feel like a real villain who is authentically powerful, as opposed to a like the camera never like goes like too low below the hip when shooting him. Like they never like try and make him feel like this grand figure with the cinematography, but just the way that people act around him, the respect that he gets, the way people are even afraid to tell him things, makes it abundantly clear that he is powerful.
Yeah.
And
anchored by the
white supremacists.
And the incredible on-screen presence of Patrick Stewart.
Because it's fucking Patrick Stewart.
That he has in everything that he's in. It's like he is like really. I know he's what everybody talks about when they talk about this movie. It's like for good reason. Like he's such a sort of out-of-pocket casting for this type of movie. He's like playing so against type, and yet at the same time it's such like kind of a classic Patrick Stewart performance.
I mean, he's also like such a King Lear figure in this, right? Like he's this powerful guy grasping on to the last of his power, and at the end of the day, deep inside, he's a pathetic man. Like, I think it speaks really well to his his theatrical role.
I tell you, hearing the N-word come out of Patrick Stewart's mouth is jarring in a way that it isn't for other actors. I think for other people, we'll say.
And so you were saying like Patrick Stewart is the draw of this movie. I think I would go as far as to say I think like the normie like.
Well, he's what everybody talks about. It's like, Patrick Stewart.
The normie grassroots advertising for this movie is it's the movie where Patrick Stewart says the N-word.
Yeah,
like,
sure. It's the movie where Patrick Stewart plays a neo-Nazi like drug kingpin. But yeah, I mean, and he
fucking nails it.
He's very good at this.
He's scary.
He's very scary.
Yeah. And I gotta say too, like again, like of the three of us, I'm obviously the most inundated with Star Trek bullshit. I'll just get it out of the way. Obviously, like I see him as this like powerful figure in Star Trek who is also like a person capable of being, like loving and admirable and all the rest. And my brain just separates the two. Like his body language is entirely different with this character.
Oh yeah, I mean he's a good enough actor. He embodies his role.
Yeah, and so you never see the corny Star Trek side.
Yeah, he's not just playing Dark Picard.
Yeah, no, thankfully.
I will say like
he does do that a few times in Star Trek. Though.
He's in this movie a decent amount, but not an overbearing amount. But the presence he has makes him feel more present in the movie than he actually is. I think.
Casts a big shadow.
Yeah.
Like,
and
less is more with
and
that
again,
sort of
like
thing.
you were talking about, like the way the other characters behave around him, the way they defer to him, and like we see that like the ripples that his presence have. Like when they're trying to figure this out, it's like, okay, we've the cops have been called. So we have to do something about that. Like Anton Yelchin, like before the phone got cut off, he said there's been a stabbing. The cops heard that and they called back, and Macon Blair took the phone. So it's like, okay, so the cops are coming and they know there's been a stabbing. How do we deal with this? And like Patrick Stewart is like walking with Macon Blair. He's like, what do we need? And Macon Blair's like, a true believer. And one of the other characters is like, how about two of them? And so then we see that like it's like two twin brothers,
two weird looking Nazi twins.
two weird, like, but again, like very young, like again, like young guys, and like
oldest they could be a 17.
Early 20s, probably.
Oh,
yeah, maybe late
kids.
teens, early 20s. But basically, it's like Macon Blair gives one of them like a small knife. He's like, this is like an inch shy of being a felony.
Well, it's important though. He tells him that after he stabs him, and it shows that they're that much more faithful. Which I really like, because he just hands him the knife. He stabs the other guy, and then he tells him, "Hey."
Twice. Well, yeah, he's like, it wouldn't even, and one of them is like, wouldn't even be the first time, you know? It's like
Jesus, what kind of like childhood do these kids have, you know? Like,
right, exactly.
Oh
It's just like, yeah, they give him like $600 to like let his brother stab him. He's like, yeah, that knife is 1 inch shy of being a felony, so like, you know, it's not going to be too big of a deal. And basically, yeah, that's like they just, you know, throw themselves on the fire for the movement or whatever, the true believers. Is like, we see what these people are willing to do for Darcy, for Patrick Stewart, like for the movement. Like, that's what's scary about it, you know?
But we are also, at this point, they strategize, okay, we can get the teens away and kill, like, make it look like they because they see the siphoning gas in their car. They say, okay, we can have them be trespassing somewhere and get mauled by dogs. Let's bring in the dog man. They bring in the dog man, who I definitely want to talk about. He doesn't, he seems to be like a consummate, like, professional. He doesn't talk very much apart from handling the dogs and the rest. And of course, all of the dogs' commands are in German. But
classic neo-Nazi.
Right, neo-Nazi. But I do love that they're not German Shepherds; they're pit bulls.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's true. Yeah, they're. You know, I will say, I think that this movie does a really good job of making the attack dogs actually pretty scary. I think because it shoots it well, because we've definitely talked about on the podcast before that, like, in a lot of like horror movies where people get like mauled by dogs or something, it's like you can tell that the dog is like happy, it's like wagging its tail, and it's like you
probably hear Piglet right now.
Yeah, it's
very
panting
happy
into the mic. It's like, yeah, it's like it's hard to be like scared by it, because like you can tell that it's just like a good boy who's like happy to be doing its job well, you know? And I think that this movie does a good job of shooting it in such a way that, like, the dogs feel scary, and we see what the dogs do to people in this movie.
It's like they are introduced with an emphasis on their violence.
Yeah.
Right? Like on the punctuation of brutality.
I think part of it too is I think German Shepherds are like just a little too obvious. You know, that's one of the reasons I like that they're pit bulls. And two, also, frankly, like, pit bulls, I think, just read as scarier looking dogs. Like, German Shepherds are big, scary, and powerful, and, like, taller than pit bulls, too. But I don't know, they got the big ears and the big tails, and they just look so sweet. Whereas pit bulls just look like these muscle creatures.
They got those big heads.
Yeah, and
those
like,
big skulls.
Yeah, and we all know that they're so hungry for babies. So I think I just find like pit bulls just be like generally more intimidating.
Well, and also like during a lot of the like dog attack scenes, it's like it's dark and they keep it pretty tight. They keep it in close up a lot, so you can't see the dogs wagging their tails.
Like we see some of the mechanics of like the dog guy like after the first attack, but for the most part leading in, they shoot around the dogs. They're in their crates.
Yeah.
We don't see them, and they treat it kind of like a, it almost feels like the way you would introduce like, I don't know, the fucking Predator, like a Star Wars monster, you know, like something, you know, like this evil creature, the alien even, right? Like we don't see the whole dog, you know, until we know what a dog is.
I mean, we know it's a dog.
But like it, you know, again, it's the shadow cast thing we're talking with Patrick Stewart, right? It's that same idea. Like you don't see the creature fully yet, so it just makes it all that much scarier. And then it's set upon our characters.
Well, I think we gotta talk about like one of the first really big violent scenes that sort of leads into the dog attacks. But Patrick Stewart goes in there. He tries to sort of like sweet talk them, be like, oh, we just want you out. It's like,
and he does that amazing thing where like it starts. He's like, all right, we're gonna have a talk with you guys. It's gonna be fine, but. Do you mind if can you still hear me if I speak regularly? My voice is getting hoarse. And what it does is it forces us to, because there's still like some blaring music and it's just behind the door and it's so muddy, it really forces you to lean in and listen to his every word.
Yeah, I like that during a lot of that. It
makes him even more powerful.
I like that during a lot of that, we really just hear him speaking through the door and we don't, like, cut much to him outside. They really keep it sort of from, like, the character's perspective in the green room. But yeah, he tries to sweet us like, look, we just, this is all, we just want you out. Like, that gun that you have in there, like, it's unregistered. We don't want to fuck it, we don't want to deal with that. Like, just give us the gun and we'll let you out. Like, we've loaded all your stuff into your van. You can go. We can just put this all behind us. It's all just like one big nasty mess. During a bit of a struggle earlier with Big Justin, they bumped into like there's like a vent on the floor by the door that leads out into the hallways. Like that got damaged a little bit, so you can kind of see through it. Like they spend a pretty long time like debating like what they should do, but they figure it's like they're going to come in shooting if we don't do something. So like, let's take them at their word and like, let's hand out the gun. And, so they go to move the couch and like Anton Yelchin kind of opens the door a little bit and he sort of starts going to, hand the gun out. And I like that, like Imogen Poots is down on the floor and she looks through the vent. And she looks over to the side and she sees a couple more pairs of legs staying there with the boots with the red laces.
Red Nazi laces.
Red Nazi lace. Well, yeah, I mean, that's one of those things that the Nazis have really, the neo-Nazi skinheads have really appropriated. Like, it's just an old punk skinhead thing that, like...
Oh, is it?
Yeah, it's like it's... The idea is that, like, you get the red laces when you've shed blood for the movement. But when you're talking about Nazi skinheads, then the movement is the Nazi movement. So that it sort of has become synonymous with...
So it's co-opted.
Yeah, I mean, like the Nazis do with everything, with all the fucking, like, Nordic runes and shit. Like, they can't, I mean, the fucking swastika itself, like, they can't come up with anything on their own.
Well,
they just
it's almost like they don't have an internal culture.
Yeah, exactly.
So they have to just steal.
Yeah. They've
Crazy.
They've just co-opt things that they think make them look hard.
Like German words.
Like training your dog in German.
Seeing their set list, the main band and all the
Cowcatcher,
names,
like
dumb German words.
Yeah, Fleischwolf. Because Cowcatcher is like a Nazi black metal band. So like at the last moment, like Imogen Poots sees those feet with the red laces. She's like, they're gonna kill us, and like Anton Yelchin tries to pull his arm back in, but it gets grabbed. And again, I love this that we do not see what's happening outside the door. Like, we just see it from inside, but he starts screaming something fierce, and so they all run and start, like, they're able to pull him back in, and his arm is just fucked.
It's essentially flayed, and his hand is just barely.
Yeah, his hand has like almost been severed from his wrists. They have gone to town on his arm with a machete, and it is exceptionally gruesome. They also take that moment for the drummer to snap Big Justin's arm, which is also very gruesome.
It really is.
And
yeah.
I like how they sort of like organically introduce the drummer guy's like judo abilities.
Oh, right, good. That's what I wanted to talk
with
about.
With him like attacking the college kid at the beginning for like the shitty Denny's set or whatever.
Yeah, what they do throughout like this early part of the tension building is they set him up to be our kind of Sigourney Weaver, who is our emergent hero through competence.
He's the only one of the band who is not like totally paralyzed with fear.
Yeah, he's together like as much as he can.
As much as he
holds
can
the guy
be.
down.
Like,
he has them get the gun from him.
You can tell, you can tell he's still like high strung. Like he doesn't feel like in control, but he's wresting more control out of the situation than anybody else is.
Right, like he's emerging as the leader, and that's shown explicitly when no one else wants to hold the gun. Everyone else is kind of afraid to do it. But he, the only really like competent like together one, is holding the guy down.
He's got him in an arm bar, yeah.
Right, and so I find this to be like very believable too, like of a reaction as opposed to a person just getting a gun in their hand and just feling great about using it. Like these characters are really not sure.
It was like, no, I don't know how to shoot. I don't want to do. Imogen Poots is like, I'll take the gun, and they're like, no, we don't know you.
We don't know you.
You're like, I mean, she's hanging out at this fucking Nazi bar, like, they're like.
So he arrested from what's the maybe from Arrested Development. She's so
Elliot
good.
Shockwell.
Elliot, yeah. So he finally like they're able to make the transfer and he gets it. He maintains like some amount of control throughout that, and so we think okay, he's going to be our especially like next to Anton Yelchin. I think she had the most camera time, but is also kind of meek and scared. And now like his good hand has just been like flayed. To ribbons. So, how could it be him? Well, that's wrested, from the group, and I really like this. That once they escape from the room, just again in the most matter of fact way, his whole face is destroyed by a dog.
Oh no! It's the
no, right. That's the singer
with the green hair.
He runs out and is just hacked down by a guy.
Yeah, he goes into he goes into the kitchen and he like jumps out a window and is just immediately like stabbed like 30 times by a dude who's just out there waiting for him. Yeah, I love that too. It's like they're all at this point they're like, fuck, we're trapped in this room. Like we have to figure out something. Like we can't just stay here any longer. They're gonna come in here and kill us. So it's like let's make a break for it. Like let's fight. They fucking hype themselves up and everything, and they go out there, and two of them are just immediately gruesomely killed. Yeah. And the others are driven back into the green room. And that's not even the only time that happens either. Like, that happens multiple times where they try to make a break for it, somebody dies horribly, and then the remainder just go back into the green room in a worse position than they were in before.
Yeah, and like they're afraid when they get back to the green room, but again, this film is pushing realism, and there's never that moment where it's like, Daniel, no, there's none of that silly shit.
No,
like, they're just panically forced back in. Yeah, they're all breaking down, and they have to keep carrying
on. Ratchets up the tension so well in that like. The punctuations of really gnarly violence just make that downtime in between that where they're in the green room kind of hyping themselves up, so to speak.
Regrouping.
Feel so much more dangerous, right? Because it feels like they only have so much time. They're surrounded. The walls are coming in on them, so to speak.
And their numbers are dwindling.
Yeah.
Like they're getting more stressed and more strung out, and they're dying. Like, yeah, they're being rebuffed over and over again, and there's like going to be nothing. And I think this is a good opportunity to talk about the paintball story that you mentioned, because this happens before their first sort of attempted foray out of the green room, where one of them, the singer, I think is taping up Anton Yelchin's arm. They found some duct tape. They found the drug manufacturing lab
underneath the green room. There's a small heroin bunker.
Mm-hmm, but there's
which is the real reason they're trying to keep the cops out and all the rest.
Right, of course, yeah. Like this is the headquarters of their extremely illegal drug manufacturing operation. So they don't want the cops poking around there. So yeah, they find that and they find some duct tape in there, and the singer's taping up Anton Yelchin's hand and his arm. And Anton Yelchin starts recounting this story about them going to like play paintball for like some friend's bachelor party, but they didn't have enough to rent out the whole field, so they got grouped up with like a group of like ex-Marine guys who are real serious about it, all tactical and everything, with fancy expensive paintball guns, and just kept like massacring them over and over and over again. And I like that it's like at this point, it's like before he gets to the but then part of the story, then it's like, we don't have time for this, we have to go. So it's like he starts doing this like sort of pep talk, but then it gets cut off at the part where they're just being slaughtered,
and it's so
which and then they
limp,
go
too,
out there
like...
and just half of them are slaughtered immediately. It's like, geez, dude, it's like, good fucking pep talk, you dipshit.
It's such a tease, which makes like the conclusion of the story so much more satisfying.
And I like too that before they go out, one other quick thing I wanted to mention is that they all except Anton Yelchin admit they're real desert island bands.
Yeah,
that they are revealing that they are posers too. That they are not true. It's like, of course, on the interview they're gonna say, "Ooh, the Misfits or Cro-Mags or whatever," but then it's like the what's her face is like Simon and Garfunkel, which honestly,
good pick.
Good pick.
Not a bad selection. And the question is too, if you say Simon and Garfunkel, do you also get the respective solo records from Simon and Garfunkel? Because it's technically still Simon and Garfunkel. You see what I'm saying?
Well, at that point, it would be Simon or Garfunkel.
Or Garfunkel, yeah, I guess that's true. And
you have to specify Simon and or Garfunkel.
There you go. Yeah.
And the choice is clear when it comes down to which one. But yeah, I think the drummer says Prince is his, which also, not a bad pick. But we still don't get Anton Yelchin's. He was the only one at the beginning who didn't give one either.
I like that how Imogen Poots even gives a 2.
Yeah, she says Madonna or Slayer.
Which I think is perfect for her character.
Well, it's just the right time for us to like learn exactly who she is as a person, and I think it tells us so explicitly.
Camaraderie, right? Because she's an outsider.
Yeah, and she's been brought in by the group. Like, they can trust her at this point. I like that.
Yeah, or they have no choice but to. It's like they're all on the chopping block, so they have to work together. But then they go out there, and the drummer and the singer are brutally murdered, and they're driven back into the green room once again to regroup until they try to go out again when Aaliyah, what's her face? Shakwat is then killed by the dogs. She gets fucked up by the dogs real bad. But then we do sort of get like a little bit of a twist there, because we learn about sort of like what led to this whole thing and Cousin Daniel's role in it.
This is where I have questions.
Yeah.
I don't think I've entirely threaded this together yet. And I wanted to kind of ask, there's the Fleischwolf thing that they find in the dead girl's pocket that says Fleischwolf on it. They see the previous band's set list, and the Fleischwolf is on that. Right. And then when it's just the two of them in the room, the two Nazis come in, and one of them also joins their side because
Cousin Daniel,
because he and the dead girl were going to run away.
Run away together.
Oh,
yes,
okay,
that's
and expose the Nazi group.
The point where they were going to play Fleischwolf.
Yes, Fleischwolf was the cue. That's when they were going to leave.
They were going to get the fuck out of there.
Yeah, and that's why when they were going to run away, and when Patrick Stewart figures that out, he goes to the guy's car and he looks in the trunk and he sees that and then he finds the baseball bat with blood on it, which is where we get the reference to something that happened last Easter.
And I like that because so cool. So I am on board. I did.
Yeah, no, you got it.
I just wanted to make sure.
Which reveals that Cousin Daniel was taking that evidence presumably as collateral to take it to the police to get Patrick Stewart and all of them arrested or whatever.
In very few words, it also does a wonderful job of setting up this theme of how not only are our main protagonists and the band trapped in this literal green room, but many members of this type of organization are also trapped by their own means, in the same sort of fashion, just trying to escape. And it sort of...
Yeah, that even Nazis are capable of falling in love.
Wow.
Yeah. But no, I mean, I think there's something to that. It's like, yeah, sort of like I said earlier, is that like everybody feels like they're in over their heads. Like, I feel like Macon Blair is a really good example of that, because, he's sort of like Patrick Stewart's like lieutenant, but his rise has been like relatively recent, clearly, because he mentions that like he was still handing out leaflets during the Easter thing or whatever.
It seems like he's just a smart enough guy and competent enough, and those are hard to come by in these parts.
Right, but it's like the whole thing, it's like from the beginning, like he feels like he's just like trying to keep his head above water. And I think that sort of like especially where it comes to like by the end of the movie, is like he's probably just like some disenfranchised, like, rural Oregonite who got fucking roped into, like, this weird, like, fucking neo-Nazi gang, like, looking for a sense of place and belonging or whatever, because he does not have what it takes. Yeah. And that's not, I don't think the movie tries to necessarily like redeem him. I don't think it should, but yeah, I do think that it adds like a layer of depth to that character, that like he doesn't seem like his heart's really in it. He's got the tattoos and shit, but it's like he probably just got into this because he thought it would be cool and dangerous or whatever,
that he has of how disposable Patrick Stewart treats all of
these people
he sends in. He doesn't care if they die.
Well, it's like at a certain point, Patrick Stewart, like in the office, like gives him like his red laces, and he's like, oh, we're just cleaning up here tonight. You earned these a long time ago. But what that really feels like is, it feels like Patrick Stewart knows that Macon Blair is wavering, and that feels like an attempt to sort of like reinvigorate like his zealotry. It's like, oh, you've earned your red laces now. It's like you're really one of us. He thinks it's gonna sort of like, fill him with new purpose, but it very much does not. Well,
and to touch on your point a little bit further with this idea of humanizing them, right? I think it's important to do this, and not from a perspective, especially in like a film like this, of humanizing them to make them relatable and whatnot, but to humanize them to remove the shadow, of like white supremacy, of like being like evil fucking Nazis, right? That like at the end of the day, like every person wearing one of those like fucking like uniforms or like hoodies with an SS thing on it or whatever, like is just an idiot person, and like to take the mask off of it and just show it for what it really is, which is pathetic. And I think that can be an almost more important like thing to show for like these types of villains in movies than to just make them these like dark evil forces.
Well, yeah, I think when you make it more realistic too. It's the banality of evil. It's like that, like like a lot of evil is human, and that like when you think of it in like these sort of like shadowy monster kind of terms, it's easy to kind of like write it off as fiction or not like real, and I think that when you realize that like evil is human, that makes it a lot easier to like recognize and like, I don't know, like know your enemy, like know that they're human like you are, and
once you shine a light on it, it's not so scary.
It becomes less scary. But also it's like when you accept it on a human level, like it becomes easier to see like how people can fall into these kinds of like positions, and like that it's like a slippery slope for like anybody, you know. That like I think this movie does a good job at that. It's like all of the villains feel very human. Like the dog guy is another good example. Like he is also very like cold and calculating and like very evil. Like he's trained his dogs to kill, to murder people, you know, and he's trained them with fucking German commands because he's a Nazi or whatever. But also he does have a clear tenderness for the dogs, you know, that feels real and that feels human. And then anybody who has a pet, it's like, oh yeah, you love your pets. It's like he loves his dogs. Like he treats them, as he even says, they're professionals or whatever, you know, they earn. But it's like when one of the dogs gets like injured, he like gives it basically like a steroid shot. He's like, this will keep him alive for another hour, but like I would consider it a personal favor to let him die with meat in his teeth, you know. It's like I want my dog to go out chewing on something, you know. And it's like we know he means chewing on a person. It's like it's horrifying, but at the same time he's like, you know, my dog is dying and I want him to die happy, you know. And yeah, I mean, I think that it's part of it's just all part of the good writing of this film, that like every single character in this movie feels like a real person. I feel like this movie does a good job of like exhibiting like the good that humans are capable of, but also like the great evil that humans are capable of, and for very selfish and stupid things too, right? Like all of this whole thing is just fucking, it's all, they just don't want to get caught selling drugs. Like that, all of this cost of human life at this film is just because Patrick Stewart and his gang are selling heroin and they don't want to get caught, you know?
Yeah.
When you frame it like that, it feels so pointless. Like so much evil and violence it's just totally pointless.
Yeah. I want to talk about my favorite sequence of the film, and that's the trap that Anton Yelchin and Imogen Poots set up.
Yes. Oh, this is great. Yeah.
Because that feels like a true point where they have turned the tables.
Yes, fine for the first time in the film. Really the first time that they don't feel outmatched.
Yeah. And it's right after the paintball speech. It's when they realize
the payoff of the paintball speech.
They can't play by the rules of combat as expected. They have to go in with a sort of reckless abandon.
Yeah. With the sense of nothing to lose. That's, Imogen Poots asked Anton Yelchin to finish his story. And he's like, oh, yeah, crazy Ricky Spears or whatever. Like, he got tired of getting massacred, so he just ran out there not caring if he got shot. And he slaughtered that whole team of ex-Marine guys all on his own, laughing the whole time. Because they didn't, you know, when he didn't care if he was going to get shot, then he no longer had any fear, and they couldn't anticipate his actions. So they decided, it's like, okay, if we have any chance of getting out of here, that's what we have to do. We have to be fucking bold.
Yep, we have to dare to be stupid.
We have to dare to be stupid, exactly.
Yeah, and I love the blocking of the scene in that, you know, they have the underground bunker area, and so you're kind of on two levels throughout the scene, as they kind of lure the Nazis towards them. Anton Yelchin has shaved his head to look like one of the Nazis, and he's looking down, and to get them down into the bunker, he jumps down and just starts wailing and batting around his machete.
Yeah, smacking on everything, making as much noise as possible to get them to follow him. He has drawn makeshift camouflage on his face with the Sharpie, which I like.
He and Imogen Poots both have,
Yeah. Yeah, well, when we see her again, we don't see her at this point. We're like, oh, where is she? You know, she's probably down there with him too. And, you know, like one of the Nazis, they only have three rounds for their shotgun because Anton Yelchin and Imogen Poots have taken the rest from under the bar. The end of the cousin Daniel story is like, oh, he betrayed them. He's like, oh, he's gonna help them get out. And he's like, I know the way out of here. And what I also know is where we stash and his head basically just explodes because the bartender is like, he's like too slow. He has the shotgun that they keep under the bar. But then Anton Yelchin chops that dude in the neck with the machete. But the other Nazis get the shotgun. Yeah, they've only got 3 shots left, so one of them follows Anton Yelchin down into the bunker while the other stays up there, and we see Imogen Poots come out from under the couch cushions with her box cutter.
It's such a great reversal of expectations, right? Like,
yeah,
that it works because of the blocking and the set design, because of being on 2 different levels. You're so primed to expect them both hiding away in this bunker.
Right.
You almost expect, like, in like an action film, like, she'd be, like, in, like, a corner of the ceiling or something, or behind, like, a cool case, you know, and, like, come out and stuff. But instead, she's under the couch cushions.
You certainly wouldn't expect her to be in the couch.
In the couch,
yeah.
right. Which is, like, where a kid would think to hide. Like, it's very, like, kind of childish and fun, which speaks to we're playing paintball here. You know, like motif of the like it's that, like, they've abandoned, like, taking this seriously to win.
Well, and again, like, it subverts the Nazis' expectations themselves. They go in knowing there's a trap.
Yeah.
But little do they know the trap isn't actually down there necessarily.
Right, exactly. And it's really the trap is they think that they're being slick by, like, okay, one of us is going to stay up here, one of us is going to go down because it's a trap. But that's exactly what they want them to do. The trap is actually separating the guys. Because, yeah, Imogen Poots comes out of the couch and she sneaks up behind the one guy and fucking slits his throat with the box cutter. And then it divides the attention of the guy down in the bunker with the shotgun. And I love how she gets him to, like, waste all 3 of his shots. And, well, how she and Anton Yelchin does. Like, Anton Yelchin runs out and then pops back behind cover and he shoots and misses. And then she, like, sprays, like, the fire extinguisher down there and makes a big cloud of smoke, and he shoots. And
she has the corpse's legs, and she uses those.
Yeah. Well, what I love is she tries to do that first with the corpse of his friend who she just killed, and he's like, oh, nice try. You don't think I'm that stupid. And so she just drops that corpse down there. But then she does it again with the corpse of her friend. Yeah. Who got stabbed in the head, whose body was off under a blanket.
He just sees lady legs come down, and he's like, not this time.
Yeah.
And so he shoots his last shot at the legs of her dead friend, and, you know, they're able to get the gun away from him and kill him. And at that point, I love how, like, when they realize it's a trap and they're trying to shout for help, we just get that almost sitcom cutaway back to Macon Blair in the main part of the bar in, like, an apron and rubber gloves, like, power washing, like, blood off of, like, the wall behind the bar. It's just, like, a static wide shot. It's like he can't hear them, like, shouting.
Yeah, and it's like, after all this action and death has occurred in this room, like, this, like, character, like, this, like, lieutenant character has just been, like, reduced to a janitor. Like, and it's just, like, cleaning up the mess.
Well, yeah, because, again, like, his heart's not in... He doesn't really want a part in any of this violence. No. Like, he's just been... he's totally just LARPing. Yep. And so it's like, he's just like, yeah, fucking power washing, doing the literal cleanup while the other flunkies clean up. But yeah, so they then Anton Yelchin and Imogen Poots come out, and Macon Blair is just, like, there with the power washer, and he's just like, I think I want to go to jail. It's such a good line. Because, like, at this point, like, Patrick Stewart thinks, okay, this is taken care of. Like, he and, like, the other guys go off they take the van and the other bodies to go stage the crime scene. So they've left. So Macon Blair at this point is the only one left at the bar, and so they're able to, you know, they have guns now, so they're able to overpower. And he's like, you know what, I'm done. Like, this stinks. I'm over this shit. I'm reformed. I'm not a Nazi anymore. I want out of this. He's like, I'm gonna go to jail. And they basically, they decide that they're going to go off to the residence. That what Patrick Stewart keeps calling it, the residence. And they're going to finish. They're gonna finish things. They're gonna take care of business. They're not comfortable. They just like going to the police. It's like,
well, I think what I like is originally they're gonna go up the road, get to a phone, and call the cops. But then they hear a little bit of gunfire in the distance, I think, and like the sound of dogs again. And they ask him, like, what the fuck is that going on up there? He's like, you don't want to see what they're doing up there. And it's like, okay, well, clearly they're staging the scene for their friends, so they're mutilating their friends even more.
Yeah.
And, you know, like, they won't. You know,
at this point, they've lost everything, and it's like, you know, let's just fucking finish this, you know. But they let Macon Blair go, and be like, okay, you got to promise. It's like, when you get to a road, it's like, you're going to call the cops and, you know, tell them everything. And he's like, yep, for sure, I'm absolutely gonna do that, which he actually does, because, like, again, I like how they sort of have like the thematic analog of Macon Blair and The Last Living Dog that gets away and is just sort of like wandering down the road, like dragging its chain, you know, like this sort of like unwitting instrument for this greater evil that is now like has nobody holding its leash anymore and is just kind of like wanders like, I don't know. I'm just kind of, I don't really like this, you know? I like that.
It's not following any commands
It's
anymore.
aimless.
Yeah, it's devoid of purpose, you know? It has been, again, a tool that has been used for evil, but without a firm hand on the leash. Like,
there's no Nazis barking at them.
Right, exactly. And again, like, I don't think the movie tries to offer any sort of redemption for Macon Blair's character, which, you know, as a Nazi, I don't think he deserves, but I do think he is kind of just like a good example of just like some pathetic schlub who's like in over his head. He doesn't have the stomach for it, you know? And yeah, he does. He goes back to the road and he finds some people and is like, we need the police. So presumably he's going to go to jail, but Imogen Poots and Anton Yelchin still have to go wrap up the remaining business with Patrick Stewart.
Of which there are, first they come across the scene itself, which is being staged by another aimless Nazi and the evil dog.
And the dog guy.
And Yelchin comes around one side of the car and he points the gun at the Nazi on the opposite side. And
I like how it's through the
door,
the
and
windows
it's so
of
well
the
shot.
van.
It looks so good. And what I love is that Yelchin gets confirmation on the other guy, or on Boots coming around the van. And then Yelchin starts to circle around the van as well. And I love that, like, we're already on the edge of our seat here. There's like such really nice tension. Our heroes might actually get the upper hand, but what's going to happen at the very end? You know, like, how is this going to come about? And Yelchin and it's so organic. It looks so believable. But the button on Yelchin's jacket on his wrist catches the mirror on the door as he's coming around, and it's just this awkward, like, very believable moment where, like, he's got his gun hand pointed at him, and it just kind of catches on the door as he's trying to get around. And I wonder if it, like, was an accident or if it was planned.
Well, I have an answer for you.
Oh, do you?
I have an answer for you. The shot itself is staged, but it was after it happened naturally in a previous take.
That's so cool. Yeah.
And Jeremy Saulnier liked it, but didn't like the rest of the take. So when they shot it again, they
God,
did.
Yeltsin does it so naturally.
They
you really
did stage
believe
it, but yeah, no, it does come off naturally. It comes off as one of those things that like does feel like it was kind of a happy accident. But yeah, it's
and it
like
wasn't the capital.
It's like even at this point when he finally has the upper hand, like. He doesn't have the stomach for it either.
No, of course not.
Like it's kind of it's he's been thrown into this, and he's watched all of his friends be murdered, and he's had his hand hacked up, and now he's the one holding the gun. But still, it's like he's not good at this. You know, he's still awkward and clumsy, and I like that. And you know, they take these guys and they lead them back up the road to the residence where Patrick Stewart is, and Imogen Poots just, like, shoots the dog guy, and Anton Yelchin's like, oh, so we're doing that, huh? And she's like, that's why we came up here, right? It's like, why else? Why else would we come up here if we weren't going to kill them? And Anton Yelchin was like, oh, well, I was just going to mess up their crime scene. You know, it's like even with all of this, it's like he didn't come up here with the.
He just wants to be a good boy.
He did not come up here with the express purpose of executing these people, but that's what they end up doing, because what else are they going to do, and what else do these people deserve? You know.
And man, oh man, does Patrick Stewart have a great death?
Oh yeah,
the best.
Yeah, I love it. He turns around and like tries to walk away, and they start like shooting into his back, and he manages to get a gun out, and as he falls to his knees, he turns around and manages to get one shot off that misses, but Anton Yelchin gets him right in the dome.
Get a nice squid.
Yeah, right in his fucking bald egg head.
And yeah, the tension, the build up, the camera work, so much of it reminds me of Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. Like at the end, like that showdown at the cemetery.
Yeah, sure.
Like,
I could see that a little bit.
Attention. Well,
it's like, much less epic.
No, yeah, it's so true. Like
but again,
it
feels
sort
of
so
like
personal and real and genuine, and it's not.
It's like
it's shot so matter of fact, but like the events themselves are a final showdown. Like between like the hero and our heroes and the villains, and yeah, and I love he just barely gets his gun out. It almost looks like he has a gambler's sleeve. Like it's so cool.
Yeah, he just kind of like pop it out.
Yeah, he pops the pistol out, and you really think like what he's trying to do is he's trying to do the like Patrick Stewart's character. Like obviously he's a white supremacist. He's probably like loves westerns and has like watched like so many of them. And he's trying to do like the slick walk away turn shoot. You know, like it's almost like the James Bond shot. You know,
right.
Like you think like he's going for that. Like with this like weird gambler sleeve or whatever, but. Realistically, they both have their guns on him. That's not how that's
he turns and starts walking. They just immediately start shooting him.
Just goes down. But I love that. Like, and also too, like it's pretty clear from the blocking too that shot does like go right between the two of them. And
it hits the van behind them. Yeah,
and like that's great. You know, it could have been either of them, and like just to come so close. But no, it's so cool that like it's mundane. It's so real and believable, and yet it still delivers on all of those like great tropes.
It's a cinematic moment, but it is a suitably inglorious death for the character. Mm-hmm. It's the kind of inglorious death that he deserves, you know. And I mean I think that's every death in this movie is like there's no glory, there's no noble sacrifice.
Mundane.
It's like it's brutal and awful and meaningless. It's all fucking meaningless. Like none of these people die for any reason, you know? And like that's it's great. I love that. And you know the movie ends with Imogen Poots and Anton Yelchin just sort of like sitting there in kind of shell-shocked after their whole ordeal,
just waiting for the cops to show up.
And waiting for the cops to show up, and Anton Yelchin says, he's like, I have it, I have my desert island band. And Imogen Poots says, tell it to someone who gives a shit. And then credits roll, but the band playing over the credits is Creedence Clearwater Revival. And I read that Jeremy Saulnier said that is to indicate that's Anton Yelchin's Desert Island band.
Fine.
That's so good.
So tell it to somebody who gives a shit, and we roll credits, and we get a Creedence song, and like that Creedence Clearwater Revival is Anton Yelchin's Desert Island band.
So good.
Yeah, fantastic. Perfect ending.
I love that while they're waiting for the cops to show up, the dog finally comes over
Yeah.
and dies, like, in the dead arms of its evil
lays down
owner.
and lays its head on the arm of its dead owner. Again, like a
and
kind of
dies,
like...
because, it only had a few hours
Yeah,
left,
it's
as it was
again,
said.
like, a kind of like a moment of tenderness that is, undeserved for this Nazi, but like, the dog doesn't... Dogs don't know what Nazis are. Like, dogs don't have politics.
Yeah, they just have programming.
Yeah, and it knows its master, and it loves its master. Like it's sad. It's sad and kind of sweet, but no tenderness for Nazis.
Well, he's already dead.
Nazi punks can fuck off.
Nazi punks can fuck off.
Nazi punks fuck off.
Anything else you want to hit before we rate this, boys?
No, I think we hit all the...
Yeah, well, since this was my pick, I'll start. But I mean, this is an easy fiver for me for all of the praise that I've given it over the course of the last hour and a half or so.
Yeah, I mean, this is an obvious 5. I love this movie.
Easy 5. Again, all the praise I've already given it.
Yeah, Jeremy Saulnier's magnum opus.
So far.
Green Room. So far. He still has plenty of years ahead of us, but he has put out a couple of movies since this, and neither of them are as good as this one. But anyway, that will give Green Room a unanimous 5 out of 5 and induct it into the hallowed halls of the Golden Pods. Well deserved.
Yes.
If you somehow have missed this one, I mean, geez, check it out. It's worthwhile. Next week, we're moving on to Cleveland's pick. Cleveland, why don't you tell us what you've picked for us?
Yeah, I was with some buddies, and I watched this movie that was...
You've been talking about this for a while.
Yeah, it was so bewilderingly... just so bewildering. Like, that I need to share it with my boys. I'm moving, in a couple months. This one might be my last pick while I'm here with you guys in person.
We haven't
and I
announced
want
it
to
on the show
see
yet,
your
but yeah.
faces when you I need to see your faces watching this movie. I know you'll see mine too, I think, for that matter. But like it's a weird one, and I used the term earlier with this movie. It's at the end, these characters, they need to dare to be stupid. I think this movie dares to be stupid more than any film I've ever seen. It's a film I'm sure no one has heard of. It's called Bullets of Justice, and we're gonna watch it, and it's so stupid, and I can't wait.
You've been talking about this movie for a long time now, and it feels kind of like legendary at this point.
It's not. Don't. Please. It has no budget. It's trash. It's got some really, really rough CG. Like, it's not...
From what you say, lots of unsimulated sex.
Oh, there are multiple
actual,
scenes of full penetration.
Full penetration, like
the Always Sunny, like crime penetration. Like, the movie literally does that. Like, I can't... Guys, I can't wait. So, it's one of the more explicit films I've ever seen too. That you can still just call a movie, I think. And of course, I think this works quite well thematically because this entire year, I have been trying to pick quality picks. I have done almost exclusively this year, I think, Cronenberg picks. It's been Cronenberg and Lynch. And so I think after doing a whole year of The Masters for a pick,
it's time
we've earned ourselves a treat.
It's time to wallow,
and we're gonna wallow and just watch the junkiest movie I could possibly pick. So yeah, Bullets of Justice.
Well, if that
week.
sounds interesting to you, join us next week for our review of Bullets of Justice, whatever the fuck that is. Until then, if you like the show, why don't you leave us a 5-star rating and a review, subscribe, follow, whatever, do the thing. And if you super like the show, then go to patreon.com/podpeoplepod and throw us a few bucks. If you give us $5, you'll get Discord access, and the Discord is fun. And I mentioned it on an episode or two ago, but Ben has been hosting weekly movie nights, double feature on Thursday, mostly horror stuff, but sometimes horror adjacent other things. It's been a good time. So if that sounds interesting to you, Patreon is where you can get access to that. Shout out, of course, to our honorary pod boys, Sam, Zach, Micah, and Mitchell. Y'all are the best and the goats and the realest.
Yeah.
And last but not least, you can, of course, follow us at letterboxd.com/podpeoplepod. You'll find a list of all the films we've talked about on the show with our average ratings, links to those reviews. You can see our full list of golden pods there as well, of which Green Room is just the latest entry. For my recommendation this week, I'm going to do a two-part recommendation, actually. A double recommendation. One, talking Jeremy Saulnier. He did put out a movie this year called Rebel Ridge. It's no Green Room, I will say that, but I actually thought it was pretty damn good.
I will say the action set pieces in Rebel Ridge almost get to the level of the ones in this movie.
Yeah.
The problem is the pacing for the rest of it.
Yeah, and also it's a Netflix movie, and as you described it, it has the sort of like kind of bland Netflix house style. It's not as visually rich as something like Green Room is. But again, the action set pieces are great. The Don Johnson is the villain. He's awesome. And Aaron Pierre as the protagonist. Fighting
real breakout role.
Yeah. Mid-sized sedan from Trap. Or not Trap. Old. Trap is a better movie. So yeah, check out Rebel Ridge. I think it's on Netflix. And my other recommendation is, just considering the subject matter of this film, I'd be remiss to not recommend some music. Mentioned Napalm Death earlier because they did the Nazi Punks Fuck Off cover, but I'm going to recommend, it'd be easy to recommend one of their early classics like Scum, but I'm actually going to recommend their most recent album from a couple of years ago. It is Throes of Joy in the Jaws of Defeatism. Kind of a long title, but geez, after fucking almost 40 years, Napalm Death is still putting out just some of the finest, explicitly anti-fascist grindcore out there. The legends.
They still bring the energy live too. I remember we saw them a couple of years back for a Halloween show.
Yeah.
And it was one of the rowdiest shows I've ever been to.
Probably still to this date the rowdiest show I've ever been to.
It's so funny because it was the rowdiest, but also we were in the very front, and whenever I looked back into the crowd, I would just see people in banana suits going wilder than I've ever
because it was
seen
fucking Halloween,
anyone.
so everybody was in costume. Yeah, that was a wild show.
Just super fun stuff. I think an ambulance was called actually on that show. But my recommendation is going to be a Macon Blair movie. Actually, his directorial debut. I Don't Feel at Home in This World Anymore.
Another Netflix movie.
Yeah, it's starring Melanie Linsky and Elijah Wood. It has a sort of Saulnier adjacent sort of pulpy crime story. Things go wrong kind of vibe to it. It's very offbeat, very funny, with
it's like a dark comedy.
Some great bits of violence as well. Really cool movie, and I think it's underappreciated. Check it out.
Surreal recommendation this week from me. Most of the time, the highlight of my week, apart from hanging out with my pod boys, is going to be painting, but this week was pretty low for painting. It was mostly gathering references, but the real highlight of my week was a culinary highlight, and I made a big soup. I got a huge pot, and I made my mirepoix, and I did all the other things, and it was just very gratifying over the course of several hours, just throwing ingredients together and just turning it all into a big soup that fed me for several days. And yeah, I highly recommend it. I think it's a wonderful experience. It's wonderful to go back to the fridge and just have more soup anytime. I recommend making yourself a big soup.
Well,
especially in cold weather.
It's soup season.
Not only did you produce a great soup, you produced maybe the most millennial video of all time.
I did. I remade the Substance video, but with soup, and I called it the Soupstance.
The Soupstance.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, make yourself, I second Cleveland's recommendation, make yourself a big soup. It's the season for soup, and with all this damn climate change, you don't know how many more seasons for soup we're even going to have, so enjoy them while we have them. Thank you, as always, for listening, and until next week, Nazi punks,
fuck off.
Fuck off.
Let's go.